ReZero, Side Story, Emilia's Capital Touring Chronicle, Chapter 1.
The capital really is super huge after all. With her hands joined in front of her chest, the girl said this in a lively voice as her eyes sparkled at the scenery before her. She was a beautiful girl. She possessed long, silky silver hair that reached her hips. Her braided silver hair was accentuated by a white flower accessory, quite literally giving her a flower-like loveliness. Her skin was as fair as virgin snow, her slender, well-proportioned limbs were draped in a dress with a white theme, and her amethyst eyes that were admiring the townscape sparkled so beautifully it was as if there were jewels embedded in them. Her beauty was such that one would not hesitate in the slightest to call her the loveliest girl in the world. However, the way the girl was looking around her surroundings full of excitement was just a little too childish to fit that description. Her eyes followed the sea of people passing to the left and to the right. One glance at her eyes that were full of curiosity as if looking at something novel would be enough to tell that what she was feeling was somewhat akin to someone from the country visiting the big city for the first time. You're very cute when you're having fun like this, but perhaps it's about time you return to reality. Raining on her parade was a voice whispering so it would only reach her slightly longer than normal ears. However, there was no one around her. But the voice was quite literally right by her ear. So, come on, I already know that the situation has gotten a bit troublesome. You're being so mean even though I only stopped for a moment. Well, it's not like I want to earn my daughter's ire by endlessly scolding her either. But this is going to be quite a bother to the others as well, and you don't want that either, right? That's true, but... The voice continued its sound argument and the girl despondently lowered her head in response. As she did this, a small figure nimbly pushed its way through her hair out to her shoulder. This was, anyway, try looking around for a place that looks familiar. There's no point in getting dejected. Offering this forward-thinking proposal while stroking its whiskers was a cat small enough to fit in one's palm. It was coated in grey fur, with big, round eyes and a pink nose. Setting aside its size, that was all there was to say about its appearance, but where it differed most from an ordinary cat was in the fact that it was standing on two legs, waving its tail that was about as long as the rest of its body. The cat purred atop the girl's shoulder. I suppose your final option would be to build up your courage and ask someone. Can you do that, Leah? Don't make fun of me. Of course I can do something that's simple. Puck, you blockhead, you're always treating me like a kid. How else would you treat a kid that ended up losing their attendant because they were having too much fun? In response to his words that were both carefree and flippant, all the girl could do was pout. The cat known as Puck smiled as the girl started behaving like a kid immediately after complaining about being treated like a kid. All right, this is going to be a real problem if the sun goes down. You'd better find your way while I can still help you, Emilia. I'm not some lost kid. I just ended up getting a little confused about the area. Becoming stubborn in response to his call, the girl Emilia started walking with a prim expression toward the endless sea of people before her, in order to find the servant girl she had lost.
Chapter 2.
The capital city of Lagunica, possessing a population exceeding 300,000, was the world's foremost metropolis in terms of populace and was the core of the Dragon Kingdom. At its center was the royal castle, and the city, the royal capital, was a melting pot of all sorts of races, always bustling with activity and overflowing energy. One could spend their entire day watching the people walking on the streets without getting bored. In particular, the commercial district, also known as the trading street, which was home to countless stalls and hawkers, and had any number of high-quality goods or curios imported from other countries lined up, due to which it was always dizzyingly busy. Humans really are amazing. Somehow making it out of the wave of people, Emilia escaped to the side of the street and paused to take a breath. Smoothing down her ruffled silver hair, she once again examined the street once she was done with her short break. The trading street was filled to the brim with people passing back and forth, conversing and negotiating endlessly. One street, just a single shopping street, had this many people on it. Just the mere thought of how difficult it would be to find a single person in all of this depressed her. That girl was wearing a rather conspicuous outfit herself, but even that doesn't really mean much in the capital. Puck, who was slipping back into her hair, spoke her thoughts out loud. Poking the cat as if she were touching her hair, Emilia lowered the ends of her eyebrows, looking troubled. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Also, you'd better be careful too, Puck. It'd cause a real panic if anyone were to see you. You could just go back into your crystal since you don't have anything to do. I do have something to do, though. I'm your conversation partner. It'd be a problem if you started crying because I left you alone. But anyway, what are you going to do? Wanna haphazardly wander around at random with no destination whatsoever? The way you put it seems like I'd probably never ever find her. I'll have to use my head on this one. Shaking her head at his proposal, Emilia tapped her head with her finger. With this, Emilia fell deep in thought and Puck started grooming his fur as he patiently waited for her brilliant idea. But what emerged from her was not a brilliant idea. Look, Puck. It looks like there's a bit of a quarrel going on over there. A little. Just a little bit. I'm curious, so I'll head over there for just one moment. On the other side of the street, she could see that some curious onlookers were gathering around a stall some distance away. In response to what Emilia said when she saw this, Puck sighed in a somewhat troubled manner. Hey, Leah, you're in trouble yourself, you know? Why, you're wrong. It's not like I want to help them or anything. Right, I just feel like taking a look. Looking as evil as she could and yet still quite cute, Emilia ran over to the disturbance. Making her way through the crowd, she made it to the front of the onlookers. And then, come on, Mimi keeps telling you. Mimi doesn't do things like dining and dashing. Mimi just ended up losing Hetaro, who had the wallet, so Mimi's in a lot of trouble. You too, young lady, how many times are you going to make me repeat myself? I don't know about this missing person, but you've already eaten my product, so I must receive the appropriate compensation. If your companion isn't with you, you could use your possessions instead. Mimi's got this staff and stuff, but if Mimi hands it over, the lady's going to be super mad at Mimi. The sight of the two who were quarreling in the middle of all of these rubberneckers caused Emilia's eyes to widen. One of the two parties who were arguing was a tall, dark-skinned man, and judging by his appearance he was probably the owner of the stall in question. And facing him was the one who had been arguing with him all this time, a person with a small build who was much shorter than him. They were a cat-like beastman bearing round ears and orange hair. They were probably of the catman race. In terms of height they barely even reached Emilia's waist, and their large white robe covered their entire body. Possessing cute, round eyes and an adorable nose, she was a girl whose entire body seemed to exude loveliness. Judging by the contents of their conversation, it seemed as though she was unable to pay the bill she owed the stall, but Mimi doesn't want to be thought of as someone who dines and dashes either. You want this staff, old man? I feel guilty after all. That's quite a decent staff, isn't it? How troublesome, gosh, that Hetaro, getting lost so easily. Mimi's mad at you as your older sister. Excuse me. As the concerned parties started wearing themselves out, someone raised their hand and interfered. The girl and the shopkeeper were both surprised. The one standing between them was none other than Emilia. Emilia had timidly stepped in, and with the two of them staring at her she continued, I happened to overhear, but basically, you just need compensation for what this girl ate, is that right? Yeah, that's right, but young lady, are you this girl's acquaintance? This lady's my acquaintance? First time I'm hearing of it. I don't know her at all. No, I don't know her either. This is my first time seeing her. Emilia and the kitten, caught between the airheadedness of these two, the shopkeeper screamed in despair. But Emilia disregarded this and quietly reached into her pocket. But I'll pay for her. That should solve everything, right? That would certainly be a great help, but you don't even know this girl, right? True enough, I don't know her, but she does look really cute. This felt sloppy even for an excuse made up on the spot, but the shopkeeper seemed to conclude that Emilia was being considerate in her own way. The shopkeeper nodded as if giving up, and Emilia smiled at him as she pulled out her purse. The hand digging around in her pocket was unable to grasp what it was supposed to. Emilia carefully checked every nook and cranny of her bosom, hips and sleeves, and then nodded deeply. Looks like I dropped my purse somewhere. The heartrending murmur of the girl who had lost her attendant in the middle of the capital and was now completely penniless dominated the area.
Chapter 3.
Having announced that she would shoulder the girl's debt, Emilia was now in quite the predicament now that it turned out that her purse was missing. Her attempt at philanthropy, or rather, philanthropy, had ended up like this. Feeling Puck's sigh in exasperation from within her hair, Emilia was unable to say anything in response as she fretted. She had to find some way to break through this situation. But just how in the world could she? And then, in that place that had fallen silent, her brain arrived at one hope. That was, I'm going to perform. If you find it entertaining, please toss me some money. This impromptu announcement of a street performance caused all the bystanders to tilt their heads. Among all these faces of astonishment, only Emilia, who started preparing with a face that looked as though she was intending to do this from the very start, and the Catman girl, who was delighted. Ooh. A performance. How fun. Were different. Needless to say, not even Puck was able to follow this completely unexpected idea of hers. The cat rustled around in her hair as he changed position, and quietly whispered into Emilia's ear, Leah, I'm afraid to ask this, but what's this all of a sudden? I just remembered, Puck. If you show off some unique performances in a place with lots of people around, you can get money, isn't that right? I think this is the perfect solution for me and this girl since we're both broke. You're definitely cute when you're trying hard, but there are times when I wonder if I went wrong somewhere while raising you. For instance, now would be one of those times. It was already too late to turn back, and Emilia had no intention of turning back either. Puck's lamentations had no effect on her. Neglecting to even prepare the bystanders for what was to come, Emilia took a step forward and started breathing deeply. Standing before the stall, right in front of all of these onlookers, the area naturally ended up getting monopolized by Emilia. I shall now have an extremely rare animal perform for all of you. I've suddenly got a bad feeling that I'm about to get wrapped up in this. Let's go. Emilia thrust her right hand out in front of the onlookers and declared this. The spectators seemed baffled as she showed them her empty palm. Unfazed by their reactions, Emilia signaled to Puck, who was taking quite a while to emerge from her hair. Come on, please. Hey, Puck. Come out. It's not that I'm stymied my appearance, it's that I don't want to appear at all. But I'd rather not humiliate you in front of everyone, so I suppose I'll have to come out. Shrugging his shoulders as he sighed, Puck was dejected as he reluctantly forced himself to creep out of her hair. His appearance instantly caused a commotion, and even as this happened he continued to walk across her arm and elbow until he finally reached her palm, where he raised both paws and proclaimed, "Victory." The crowd grew excited in an instant. Emilia thought this response meant she was doing well. This is an extremely rare animal. I shall now have it. Spirit. It's a spirit. She's a spirit user. Crap, run. Drop your weapons and all the money you have and run. Perhaps she should have him dance. As Emilia thought up a program, the crowd in front of her dispersed and ran off. They dropped everything they had on them, and the panic started spreading to people who weren't even involved. Like this, the commotion continued to spread, and when the dust finally settled, the street was completely deserted. Emilia was dumbfounded by this, and Puck, who was still on her palm, started grooming his face with his palm as he spoke. Just about everyone would run away if they saw a spirit. It was just like you said, that's true, but they didn't need to be that surprised, did they? Accepting Puck's words, Emilia sulked a bit as she looked around her surroundings. She was surrounded by all the things the onlookers had discarded. Going by the rules of street performances, all of these things now belonged to Emilia. Of course, she wouldn't actually take them. Your dancing is so cute, it would have been nice if they saw it before they went home. To call that reaction going home, I quite like your elegance. The two had this frivolous exchange. And then, oh. This cat's really talking. How? How can you talk? Are you the same as Mimi? Are you a catman? You're tiny. Super tiny. Oofa ha ha ha, this kid's pretty bold, huh? If you consider appearance alone, we're certainly rivals in terms of prettiness, but we're entirely different beings. Is that so? How do you know that? I'm Leah's father, and you're that Hetaro kid's elder sister, isn't that right? It's true. For some reason, Puck's joke caused the aforementioned girl to explode with laughter. Anyway, she was genuinely happy that this girl stayed with them. If even she had run away, even Emilia would surely be hurt. Huh? Suddenly, Emilia's eyes widened as she examined the fallen items. The reason for this was one of the items by her feet, a white purse placed on top of some somewhat dirty wrapping. She crouched down and picked it up, and then nodded when she confirmed its feel. It really is the purse I lost. Why is it in a place like? Perhaps some kind-hearted soul brought it here. Puck said this as if bored, and yawned as he slipped back into her silver hair. He was basically declaring that he was done. This upset the Catman girl, but she immediately returned to her usual self and started wagging her tail when Emilia stroked her head. Ufahae, you're super good at this, lady. You're probably a match for the lady. You're definitely far above the captain, yeah? Fufu, thank you. Mimi can tell you're a really good person, so Mimi's gonna remember ya. If you ever have something troubling you or someone you wanna drop, just tell Mimi and it'll all be fine. Drop. I don't really get it, but okay. I'll be sure to remember you too. She didn't really understand what this cute Catman was saying, but Emilia magnanimously accepted her words. Emilia then turned around as she continued to stroke the girl's head. Behind her was the shopkeeper who, even though the situation had completely left him behind, continued to man the stall because he could not abandon it. Now that she had her purse back, Emilia approached the dumbfounded shopkeeper and opened it. So, how much did she owe you? And she once again resumed her philanthropy under the guise of nosiness.